What a riotous spectacle of absurdity unfurled before our very eyes. Behold, in this grand theatre of the grotesque, even now, as the latest pitifully muttered apology dribbles forth like a trickling stream from one corner of his treacherous maw, a deluge of fantastical fabrications and cunning distortions bursts forth from the other. The deed is done, the damage irremediable. The populace hath rendered their verdict. They lend no ear to the Prime Minister's serpentine syllables. They perceive him for the charlatan he is, a jesting phantom haunting the corridors of power. Alas and alack, as is ever his wont, this rogue of a Prime Minister drags down all who dare orbit his chaotic sphere, leaving them shipwrecked upon the jagged rocks of infamy, while the venerable institutions he so blithely swears to uphold lie shattered, their very foundations crumbling into dust. Behold the upright ministers, compelled to cast off their duties in righteous indignation. The Chancellor's star, once bright, now smoulders in the ashes of disgrace, while the leader of the Scottish Conservatives stands reduced to a wretched shadow, pitiful and broken. For those uninitiated in the eldritch sorcery wielded by this Prime Minister of preposterous proclivities, let it be proclaimed with boisterous fanfare, this is no incidental miscalculation, no mere oversight in the grand clockwork of governance. Nay, it is the quintessence of his very essence. It is not an accidental defect, but a deliberate blueprint of his nefarious design. He comprehends his own malevolent machinations with crystal clarity, yet exhibits not the slightest inclination to rectify his perverse trajectory. Instead, he luxuriates in his own moral cesspool, gleefully ensnaring all who dare to approach, orchestrating a grotesque ballet of the damned with malevolent finesse. The more deluded acolytes regurgitate his deranged justifications, the deeper the common folk are ensnared in the belief that every potentate is cut from the same putrid cloth. This, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, is the diabolical symphony over which the Prime Minister presides with maniacal exuberance. Behold, across the aisle, some sit enraptured, as though under a wicked enchantment, their senses dulled by the Prime Minister's sorcerous guile. Others, though their eyes are wide to the monstrous truth, are paralyzed by their own spinelessness. Yet there are those who, with devil-may-care abandon, prance and preen in the roles he has cast them, reveling in their grotesque pantomime. This very morning a minister dared to equate the Prime Minister's grievous transgressions to a trivial traffic violation. Forsooth, what buffoonery! Has any mortal ever shed torrents of tears for failing to exceed 20 miles per hour by a schoolhouse gate? Mock not the sagacity of the people with such infantile nonsense. But lo, Mr. Speaker, the cosmos themselves seem to have scripted a macabre jest, for the last minister who spun such mendacities about a speeding infraction was ensnared in the unyielding grip of justice, and this I know, for it was I who pursued the rogue to the very gallows. Just a week past, we witnessed a nightmarish tableau. One of the Prime Minister's most obsequious lackeys, spewing vile calumnies upon our noble educators and angelic nurses, accusing them of carousing in staff rooms during the bleakest days of lockdown. Let those across the chamber cling to such odious slander if they dare. But we who revere the Herculean efforts of our NHS workers and teachers shall not soon forget this despicable disdain. Though many among us chafed against the decrees handed down by the Prime Minister, yet did we observe them. For in this venerable realm we exalt our fellow beings, place the common good above petty self-interest, and accept that the law is a yoke borne by all. This very day I conversed with John Robinson, an upright subject of the member for Lichfield. Hearken to his tale of despair. When the Grim Reaper's shadow claimed his cherished wife, John and his kin adhered strictly to the Prime Minister's edicts. He gazed not upon his beloved in her final moments, nor did he clasp her hand as she traversed to the great beyond. His daughters and grandchildren undertook a mournful odyssey of 100 miles, clutching a missive from the undertaker to evade the clutches of the law. They conducted no service within the hallowed sanctuary of the church. Even John's son-in-law remained absent, lest he transgress the edict forbidding a seventh mourner. Can the Prime Minister fathom that John would have bartered the very constellations to hold his beloved's hand for but 9 fleeting minutes? Yet he refrained, shackled by the Prime Minister's own decrees now revealed as flouted and mocked by their own progenitor. After countless moons of contemptible excuses, today's meagre, insincere apology is but a cruel jape to John Robinson. Were the Prime Minister endowed with a mere ounce of honour, he would abdicate forthwith. But he will not, for he harbours no respect for John, nor for the sacrifices of the British populace. He is a man void of shame, a spectral shell of deceit. Yet beyond the member for Lichfield and the craven lickspittles in the cabinet, there exist many honourable souls across the aisle who hold John Robinson in reverence, who honour the British public. They see the catastrophic havoc this Prime Minister has unleashed. They know this sordid saga must meet its end, and they know that the mantle of responsibility lies heavily upon their shoulders to bring this ignominious chapter to its final, inevitable closure. Thus, I do beseech them once more. Do not be swept into the swirling maelstrom of an out-of-touch, out-of-control Prime Minister. Let your conscience guide you. Place the nation above all else. Hold John Robinson's plight close to your hearts, and cast this Prime Minister into the abyss. Restore unto our politics the virtues of decency, honesty, and integrity, and halt the relentless degradation of all that this noble land doth hold dear.